Ukraine is often called a state between two worlds, Asian and European. These two worlds are connected mentally, industrially, and geographically. Nature has given our motherland an almost perfect geographical location in the center of the old world, with a forest steppe and access to mountains, rivers, and seas. But all this wealth has forever attracted our historical and situational enemies. Over centuries, they have repeatedly tried to cut off Ukraine's access to the Black and Azov seas. And today Ukraine continues to fight for the right to remain a maritime power.
Якщо держава має вихід до моря, це такий поцілунок вищих сил.
If a state has access to the sea, it is a blessing from the high powers above. It is a huge gift and a huge responsibility. And if the state and its citizens understand the importance of this, then the protection and security of maritime borders of the state will be implemented in any possible way.
Охорона морських кордонів і забезпечення морської безпеки для держави буде виконано в будь-який спосіб.
The total length of Ukraine's borders is slightly less than 7,000 kilometers. Almost 1,500 of these kilometers stretch along the sea. Historically, the Black and Azov seas have enabled us to be a serious player in port markets, enriching Ukraine with bioresources. However, these waters remain the main targets of attacks by the Russian Federation. The deployment of the Black Sea Fleet of the enemy later became the forerunner of the annexation of Crimea, and the attack on our vessels in the Kerch Strait dealt a blow to Ukrainian positions in the Azov Sea.
Фактично війна на морі розпочалася і, на мій погляд, вона розпочалася.
In fact, the war on the seas has begun, and in my opinion, it started long before. We can recall the events of summer 2013 in Sevastopol, when there the Russian side mobilized serious modern equipment underwater. This equipment was used to monitor the movement of ships that went in and out of the Sevastopol Bay and so on.
Там кораблями, судами, які там заходили, виходили із Севастопольської бухти і так далі.
The beginning of the open war at sea is considered to be August 31st, 2014. On that day, two marine security guards of the State Border Guard Service of Ukraine, Grif and Kalkan, were attacked in the waters of the Azov Sea. One of them sank and 8 sailors were injured. Boat commander Denis Petukhov and signalman on watch Bogdan Tishchenko were killed. As I recall, 5 ATGMs came. Of course, it's a lot for the sea. Some people were killed, but I know there was a sailor who was on that Grif, and he still remains in the maritime service. He continues to navigate the same Grifs and has absolutely no intention of leaving the naval fleet. In 2015, another small boat of border guards exploded on a man-made explosive device near the shores of Mariupol. 2 naval guards were killed. In 2014 to 2015, the enemy attacked us on all fronts. We held our defense for as long as our forces allowed.
У 2014 році морські прикордонники входили до складу мотоманеврених груп, які починали оборону на...
In 2014, the naval border guards were part of a motorized maneuver group that started defense at the hottest turn of the east. We went right to ground zero, entered the Dovzhansk entrapment and even fought on land.
Вели бойові дії.
Ukraine has resisted and refused to allow Russia to put into practice the so-called Novorossiya plan and break through a corridor to the Transnistria. Our power unit became the united and clenched fist, and an important role in this process was played by the Navy. And while we repelled the attacks of Russian mercenaries and regular Russian troops, a new generation of the Black and Azov Seas defenders was growing in Ukraine. They made a conscious choice in favor of the military profession at a time when the existence of our country was in jeopardy. I used to only rest at sea. When I tried the service, I realized it could be a good profession, and I enjoy it. Economic security is an integral part of national security. Observance of the clear rules of conduct in the territorial waters of Ukraine is monitored by the Maritime Security of the Ukrainian State Border Service. Russia's armed aggression, human trafficking, smuggling, piracy, customs violations, and poaching are just parts of the challenges that our country's border guards face every single day.
Багато людей дивляться на море, ну, з точки зору того, що
Many people look at the sea from the point that they see from the
Але
beach,
море це значно далі і глибше. І це
but the sea is much deeper. This is a serious value. It is a port of transshipment. It is bioresources. It is shipping. It is minerals. It is an opportunity to use maritime transport territories, etc.
Використання там переваг всіх морських транспортних коридорів і так далі, і так далі.
After the annexation of Crimea by Russia, we temporarily lost control of part of the Black Sea area and failed to withdraw most of our ships and ammunition from the occupied territory. Unfortunately, many sailors then were unfaithful to their oath. However, there remained those who defended and saved Ukrainian land and property.
Прикордонники зреагували і перші, і найміцніше і правильніше.
The border guards reacted first and took the most powerful and correct action when they expediently brought out the shipboard structure at the transition thanks to correct, well-thought-out and competent decisions of the Naval High Command.
Склад, який міг і доцільний був на переході.
The bitter experience has taught us to respond quickly to threats and to be ready to open fire against the enemy. Maritime security forces of Ukraine have professional skills, a thirst for defending the motherland, and the necessary material and technical base. The Maritime Guard of the State Border Service of Ukraine provides protection of the state border on rivers and at sea. The main ship and boat structure of the maritime security includes ships of the class Molnia and Tarantul, armored boats of the Project Bumblebee, boats Griff and Kalkan, fast small boats UMS 1000, as well as the newest upgraded boat Orlan. The flagship of the Maritime Guard is the ship E1 Grigory Kuropyatnikov. Over the last decades, the question of counteracting piracy of the world's seas and oceans was put point blank. Attacks on large merchant vessels have not ceased to this day, forcing full alert and deploying the world's strongest fleets. Fortunately, in the Ukrainian waters, border guards act on the lead and can nip the bud and neutralize any potential threats. However, working out the skills and keeping the powder dry, even at sea, is a requirement today. The boat Odessa of the class Griff was made in 1992 in Feodosia. This model is not a combat platform, but it fully meets the requirements of patrolling in coastal waters.
Катер озброєний кулеметною установкою ТСМ.
The boat is armed with the coupled machine gun installation UTOS-M, with a firing caliber of 12.7 millimeters. Also, at the end of 2018, the modernized 12.7 caliber DSK-M machine gun was installed. Instead of a machine gun, a large caliber can be fitted to it. Anti-aircraft missile systems can also be installed, and they can also be portable.
Можуть бути на озброєнні переносні.
If the boat is attacked and damaged, there is a modern system on board to avoid sinking. The team operates in a coordinated manner. Some of the sailors fire back, while the rest of the forces try to focus on immediate repairs. The commander reports about a hole. Sailors blow a hole, turn on the pump and start pumping water out of the hole.
Для нас це дуже важливо, тому що екіпаж катера...
This is very important to us because the crew of the boat is at sea, so we cannot get help from other sides at once. Therefore, such skills are very practical, so that each crew member can help one another and even themselves.
Кожна особа екіпажу друг другу, а то й сам собі.
A Upon entering combat duty, the Navy also checks merchant vessels and tankers to make sure that their cargoes comply with the accordant permits. The group has to split up again. A part of the border guards goes to check out the situation, while another part of it remains on board its vessel. So the specific nature of the service at sea requires the presence of at least 10 sailors on board the boat. According to the staffing schedule, 13 sailors are on duty on board the Grief-class boat. This is 1 officer, 4 midshipmen, and 8 sailors. They occupy the relevant positions: boat commander, assistant commander, commander of the electromechanical team, senior motorist, and an electrician. The team stays at sea for up to 5 days. A group of border guards found fishermen catching rapans in the Black Sea. They had a huge catch in their holds with totally valid permits. But unfortunately, this is not always the case.
На рахунку морської охорони
The Maritime Security Force has executed many demonstrative detentions, even of ships of foreign destination, which in particular were in violation of the legislation on the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine. Contrary to the law, they entered closed ports and then were detained, albeit with resistance to the monitoring group. They were detained by our border guards, and by a court ruling, their money was even transferred to the state revenues.
Супротивом оглядовій групі були затримані нашими прикордонниками і навіть за рішенням суду передані в дохід держави.
The Maritime Security Service of the State Border Service of Ukraine cooperates closely with the Naval Force and other units of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The boat captain also has an aerial object recognition scheme that allows for rapid response to calls from the skies above. It is our responsibility to protect the public space. We immediately report on any detected air targets in the detachment. The information is then sent to the air defense. The sea does not excuse carelessness, mistakes, betrayal, and insolence. It is known from ancient legends. The captain of a ship must respect his crew, otherwise he will not be able to avoid an insurrection. Traditions, multiplied by the conclusions and experience of combat, significantly influence the formation of a healthy microclimate within the team. For the captain, his team is younger in age and experience, but still they will always be brothers in arms.
Якщо він хоче з цими людьми вийти в море і впевнено повернутися.
If the captain wants to go out to the sea with this crew and confidently return with the task accomplished, he must have the skill to create an atmosphere with the crew that everyone respects, in particular the commander and his subordinate.
Командира і підлеглого.
At the end of November 2019, the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Ukraine concluded an agreement with France on the acquisition of 20 state-of-the-art patrol boats for maritime security. They will be used to protect the state border, for surveillance and control operations, search and rescue operations, and counteraction to sabotage and intelligence group. According to the agreement, 25% of the production of these boats will be concentrated in Ukraine.
Ми працюємо із міжнародними експертами.
We work with international experts and with international maritime donors. We are developing Ukrainian production capacity to modernize the existing equipment that we have. And most importantly, those people who do this work are absolutely confident that they are doing the right thing and, if you will, a holy mission.
Головне, що в тих людей, хто цим займається, є абсолютно вичерпна віра в те, що вони роблять правильне, і, якщо хочете, святе.
In the middle of the sea, an exhausted bird found refuge in the hands of a Ukrainian border guard. And there is a certain symbolism in this. These young men and women have no intentions of conquest and will never encroach on someone else's life and territory, but they will defend their own land until their last breath. Naval border guards fully focused on their duty, and their mission is to protect the shores of their native land. In particular, thanks to their efforts, Ukraine is and will always be a maritime state.